You lot have been badgering me about getting this done. I finally got Dan Potts back. I mean, I say back, I'm always making content with him, and we'll probably be on, well, we will be on Troops' stream later. He's saying, my guy, good.
Very well, bro. Very well. It's good to talk to you when Arsenal are winning finally, bro. It's not been too fun, has it, the last few weeks? So come on, man. It's been a good weekend and a really good European night. So I'm looking forward to this, bro.
Amen. And you touched on it there, and it sets this up nicely, man. What do you feel about the claims that Arsenal are back? Because it's been doom and gloom. We've won 2 games in great fashion, and probably a lot of people who were down in the dumps, this guy out, that guy out, probably done a complete 180 or 360, whatever it is. Are we back now?
I think we're back playing well again. Whatever that means, we're back to win a title. I don't so sure. I think what we mean by we are back is we're back playing well again. And I think we are. I think you've got to look at the right-hand side of Arsenal and be really happy with the way things are going right now. And I think it will complement the left. I'm starting to see a little bit more from some of those players, which I'm sure we'll come on to. But yeah, I think when people say, are we back? I don't think they mean they're back to win the title. They're just back playing again. And it looks like Arsenal of old again. You know, I think the way that we're playing now at the style is looking much better and attack-minded, which is what we've all been crying out for the last few weeks, man. It's been painful. It's not been the best of starts to the season, but I think when you look at it right now, yeah, you're enjoying watching Arsenal again, man. So that's what I think people mean by we're back.
I think you're bang on the money, and I think Stevie Wonder could see, you know, we're back playing attacking football. What do you pull it down to, though, man? Because, you know, we had a lot of rotations against Forest. We obviously played a stronger side against Sporting. We saw goals. We saw attacking intent. What do you put it down to? Has Mikel Arteta put the handbrake down? Is it something psychological with the players? Why are we playing this attacking football that we've been dying out for that hasn't been there this season?
I think there's 3 things, but the 2 first things are obvious. The first one is Odegaard's back, and we are a better team with Martin Odegaard in it. I think people will just have to be real. The creativity's back, the spark is back, the flair's back. I think the press is back. He's got leadership qualities he's brought. There's a kind of vision and a way to pass, which I think lost when he was out of the mix. The other thing that's definitely better is it's not just Odegaard that has improved us on our right-hand side. Timber has. Timber has been phenomenal for us, Mo. Absolutely brilliant, bro. And I look at what I've seen from him at left back, and I think, yeah, I knew you were going to be good. But at right back, I'm like, whoa, yeah, you're special. Mate. Well. Like, he's a talent. And, you know, not a lot of people like me saying this, but I think he's better than Ben White as a right back. I really do. That doesn't mean we should sell Ben White and get rid of him. But for me, Timber has been phenomenal. So that's definitely helps. And I think Arteta's taken the shackles off, man. That's the other thing that's obvious. I think Mikel Arteta has realised we can play football this way, and we don't have to, you know, be overcautious and overthink the fact that we might concede a goal if we play more attacking. Because, yeah, we conceded a goal the other night. We won 5-1. I'd much rather do that than try and win 1-0 all the time. So we've been reluctant to just back the ball in all the time. It's been reluctant of crosses. And we just look better as a unit. So they're the things that I've noticed in the last couple of games, bro.
What do you think Timber has that White doesn't?
I think Timber has quite a lot more than White, actually. And if I'm honest with you, the best way to explain it is I think he's got everything that Ben White has got plus more. And what he has got plus more is the athleticism. I think he's actually better going forward. Definitely. And I like it, Ben White overlapping, but I think he's better. I'll tell you what I'll say. I think he's better going forward with the ball than Ben White. That's what I will say. I think Ben White's gone forward, but it's more been like overlapping off the ball or making an option for Saka. I think Timber sprays the ball to Saka. I think Timber takes the ball forward. I think Timber's not afraid to go and take a cross in. We saw that he created the goal the other night. I think what Timber does as well that people don't appreciate is I think his work rate and his athleticism is better than Ben White's. And yeah, I'm running out of superlatives for how good this kid is, man. I honestly think he's that good. I think we'll be talking about Timber if this continues this season as well. This was a revelation putting him at right back because I like Ben White, one of my faves. I love the shithousery. I love the fact he's brilliant and reliable, but I just think Timber is on the eye is so much better as a fullback than him. So that's where I'm at.
I think you're bang on the money, man. And obviously, we don't want White to be injured. As you said there, just because we're praising Timber doesn't mean we're saying White needs to go and he hasn't got a future here. We need all of these guys. And White's obviously got some qualities to help us, and we wish him the best on his recovery. But I said it when we signed Timber. I think we signed Timber when the same summer we signed, correct me if I'm wrong, David Raya on loan, Kai Havertz and Rice. And I said at the time, yeah, I was like, I understand the hype around Rice. You know, he's a household name in the Prem, obviously signing for 100 million. But I think Timber's been the best, will be the best signing. Now, obviously, we all saw he got injured and he's out. But I think he's going to go and prove me kind of right. And I am liking the partnership that Saka and Timber could have. Like, you touched on it with the goals. One thing I liked about the goals we scored against Sporting, right, was none of them were spectacular. Obviously, we scored from a set piece, but they were tap-ins, and that's been something we haven't seen. And just to keep people arriving late in the box and things of that ilk. And as much as I like the goals, I love the fact that Trossard, Martinelli, Kai Havertz in particular got goals. And I think the right-hand side is our cash money. On the left-hand side, I want to see a bit more. What have you made of Calafiori? Because for me, I think he's quality, but I describe him as an Italian bull in a China shop. Sometimes I think he's a bit rash. Where are you at with Calafiori? Apologies.
I agree with you. I think his positioning at times is quite poor, if I'm honest. But I think that will grow and come with. Yeah, he can be rash, I think, and he can be. Sometimes I'm screaming at him to calm down a bit because I look at the composure of him on the ball and it's nice. But sometimes he's rushing forward, like bombing forward, a rush of blood to the head moments. I don't think it's cost us as such yet. I don't think he's like a Zinchenko where, you know, every time the ball goes across his head diagonally, you're in trouble. I think for me, Calafiori positionally needs to improve, but actually when you look at him on the ball, he's great and he can defend, he can tackle, he can get back. I just need to see a little bit of calmness from him at times. But you listen, he's young and maybe he's raw, but I think sometimes we forget that he's like 21, 22, whatever he is. So, look, I've seen very, very few defenders, Saliba, Rio Ferdinand, maybe a couple of others that have come to this league, this age, and have looked cool, calm and composed. There's a lot that need a little bit of time and a little bit of adaptation, and I think that Calafiori is one of them. Having said that, I do think we look better with him at left back. Our left-hand side starts to build up a lot more with him on there. So I kind of like it, and I'm happy to see it work. And I'm happy to give it more time, if I'm honest, along with Mikel Merino on that left-hand side.
I think you're bang on the money, and I think the pros outweigh the cons. As you kind of said there's very few defenders that are going to be signed at such a young age and be the finished article. While I think he's very much a typical Italian defender, he's almost very untypical in his rashness and things. But I look at someone like Gabriel. Gabriel's transformation year in, year out should probably serve as to why to give the man time. And you said it there, I think, while I'm not happy to see Ben White injured, to not see Tomiyasu, etc., one thing I have liked is to see Calafiori, a natural left footer on the left-hand side, and likewise with Timber. And hopefully there's no injuries in that. I have to ask you about two other fullbacks as well. Tierney was on the bench, obviously played no minutes. Do you think he can revive his Arsenal career somehow? And where are you at with Tomiyasu, man? Because it seems like for me, bro, there's something more than that injury, or the injury is more serious. Now, nobody's confirmed this, but rumors say he's back in Japan. Now, me and you both know, Bull, if his injury was a thing where he's going to be back in 2 weeks or 3 weeks, I very much doubt he's going to be allowed to go to Japan for whatever reason. It's clearly more long-term, but where are you at with them two?
Yeah, we've got 6 fullbacks, and there's only 3 of them I think have a future at the club. Zinchenko looks a little bit lost, and even though he's coming on a few times, but really and truly he's not a starter anymore. Yeah, I feel like his future is elsewhere. Tomiyasu is a fitness problem, so I'll come back to him in a minute. Kieran Tierney just doesn't have a future at Arsenal because Mikel Arteta doesn't believe that he's a guy who wants to take forward with him. Now, I think there might be an opportunity with some injuries that Tierney might get a couple of minutes, or maybe he'll play a Carabao Cup game here and there. But other than that, I don't expect to see Kieran Tierney staying at Arsenal. I expect to see him going in January, maybe back to Celtic or trying to revive his career elsewhere. I'm a big fan of him. I think he's defensively one of the best that we've got left back wise. I do think that he's a player that can play in a number of positions. And I think he's an old school left back that cuts outside, overlaps and whacks the crosses in. And I think we could do with that in our team. However, Mikel Arteta doesn't believe that he's the guy that can play in the modern game with the inverting and all the kind of stuff that he wants him to be delivering. So I expect him to go. As for Tomiyasu, I like him. I just don't think he's fit enough to be a squad player. I think we've got to be realistic with him now and say when you play less minutes than Tierney, less minutes than Zinchenko, less minutes than Partey, less minutes than Jesus, this guy's got to go. And all of those players I've mentioned are incredibly injury prone. If you can't play more minutes than them, you ain't got a future at the club. Now, I think you probably will stay in because I think Mikel Arteta really likes him, sees him as a squad player, and maybe thinks that if he can keep him in and around the squad just as an injury prone player, then that's fine for him. But it's not fine for me. I want to see players that are fit and available. So that's where I'm at with that one. With Kivior and Zinchenko, I do think there's options for them to potentially look at their futures, which then kind of asks the questions, how many defenders are we going to need to sign in the summer? Because if we're going to start clearing them out, we might actually have a busy summer in every single department because everybody wants a 9. We might end up having a summer where we have to replace Partey and Jorginho, and we might have a summer where we need to replace Tierney, Zinchenko, Kivior and Tomiyasu. So there's about 8 or 9 players. Well, this is the problem, man. Look, I don't mind that if that's the way you want to do it, because we should always be evolving. You know, I said to Jess last night, I don't think that we should be this team that gets 20 players and just keeps those 20 for 5 years. We need to be evolving and we need to be improving. So I've not really got a problem if you're going to be shipping out 2 or 3 and bringing in 2 or 3. The problem you've got is we've named about 8 players there that don't have a future at Arsenal. We haven't even touched on Jesus yet. So, you know, there's players there that we might have to move on, bruv. Defensively, Arsenal have always been pretty good. And I quite like the fact that we've got Calafiori and Timber, we've got Ben White, we've got Gabriel and Saliba. Other than those 5, I feel like we need 3 or 4 more that are going to come in to actually compete with those, because at the moment, I think there's a clear back line and there's only really Ben White that's competing. The rest of them are miles behind the others.
And then you got people like Tomiyasu, which, as you touched on, I mean, the quality is there, but it's like being great at your job. If you never turn up for your 9 to 5, it becomes irrelevant. What you said there is kind of on brand with what Oliver's saying. He's saying, Dan, why do you think Arteta gets players that he or the team outgrows with a short period of time?
So I think it's unfair to say we keep doing it. I think it is fair, however, to say that we have done it. And I genuinely believe that the ones that are still there are the ones that we were trying to get top 4 with. And some of them are gone this summer. The likes of Smith Rowe, the likes of Eddie Nketiah, the likes of Reece Nelson. I think we're all finding a squad to get us top 4. But I don't think they're fine for a squad that's going for the title. And I think we've still got a few like that, if I'm honest with you. I think Zinchenko is one of them. I think Kivior is one of them. I think Jesus is one of them. And I think we've just outgrown them. And that's probably, for me, a compliment to the club to see where we're going and where we're heading. I think we're heading towards winning trophies. And I don't think players like that are going to get you across the line. And I actually don't think that Zinchenko and Jesus are actually second choice anymore. I think in times they've been third choice. You know, we've got to look at this in the summer and look at who we can actually get through. You know what I'm saying? So I think we're not with Man City, where you're now second choice to us, you're now going to go. The reason we were excited for them to come to Arsenal was because we thought they could help us get Champions League football, which is what we did. And unfortunately, we're not going for that anymore. We're going for a title. And Zinchenko and Jesus, I just don't think are what we need to get us across that line. So I think the futures in the summer of players will actually be up for grabs. We've got to look at what's happening with the goalkeeper, because I don't know if Neto's going to be the backup number 2. We've got to look at what's happening with Tomiyasu's fitness. Zinchenko, Tierney and Kivior, all up for grabs with their future. Partey and Jorginho run out of contract. And Sterling and Jesus are probably going to be up there as well with having their futures looked at. So I think we've got probably maybe 8 players that we're looking at potentials of staying or going. I don't think all of those will go, but I think there's going to be a few of them that do. And that means we've got to get the players in, man. So we're still ever evolving. It's no more process. This is just football now. This is just Man City are the same, Liverpool
time, man.
100%. And look, Manchester City will look at their squad in the summer as well now, and they'll go, right, is Bernardo Silva, Kovacic, Kyle Walker, John Stones, Jack Grealish, are they all going to be here long term, or have we got to get rid of them and replace them? So Man City are no different, you know, and Liverpool, I'm sure, will do the same with a couple of their players that potentially either want first team football or have just grown out of being a squad player now. So I think we've pretty much caught up now. There's no more we're still behind. You know, I don't think the Liverpool and Arsenal squad is that different. And at the moment, I don't think the Manchester City, other than having 2 or 3 more players in us, is that much better either. I look at what Manchester City and Liverpool have over Arsenal, world-class players. I'm not sure that Arsenal have that elite level world-class players yet. But as a squad, I think they're all fairly similar at the moment.
Who would you rather keep, Zinchenko or Kivior?
The reason I would rather keep Kivior is because he can play centre-back and left-back. That is the only reason. Yeah. I think defensively, he's better than Zinchenko. He's younger, and Zinchenko's kind of showed me what he is. He's somebody that can come in on midfield and invert. I don't know that we need that anymore. I think we've got players like Calafiori that can do that. I think we've got Timber that can do that, and I think we've got Ben White from the right that can do that. And if I'm honest with you, I'd rather keep Tomiyasu ahead of Kivior and Zinchenko because he's 100%. Actually the better player out of the 3. The problem you've got is Tomiyasu is probably unavailable more than the other 2. So yeah, it's tough. What we need, DG, is better than all 3 of them. Let's be real. You know, if we could buy a Tomiyasu that was fit, I'd go and do it now. Do you know what I mean? If Tomiyasu,
I'd do that in Jan, man. You're bang on the money.
Yeah. So let's see what we do. But Kivior and Zinchenko have both got similar issues, and that is mistakes in them. They've got errors in them. The problem I've got is Kivior's mistakes are usually defensive errors. Zinchenko's mistakes are normally positional errors. That's my problem. You know, Zinchenko goes walkabouts and he forgets he has to defend, and Kivior gets skinned or done. For someone who breaks records for our pace and records at Colney, I don't understand how you can get done so much, because
none of us are watching it at Colney, man. Like, no, I was not seeing this on the pitch, bro. Like, and that's why I asked you, because I must admit, bro, I changed my mind on Kivior and Zinchenko, because on one hand, I agree with you. I'm like, Kivior, he's still kind of young. I think he comes across, even as silly as it sounds, like even when I'm on Arsenal's TikTok and they're doing all those like media stuff, Kivior seems like a bit of a shy guy. And I don't know anything about professional defending, but I just think you need a bit of personality. I think if his personality could come out, you know, being a Polish international and someone who's played in Italy, be decent. As you rightly said, he can play left back, he can play centre half. That makes me want to keep him. But I must admit, I don't feel any real level of confidence when Kivior's there. And like you said with Zinchenko, the only reason I'd keep Zin is because I kind of accept you for what you are, your pros and cons. Maybe you could be a guy for chasing games. Not that that's going to happen too many times. And then I think, you know what, could you just bin them both? You've got Lewis Skelly, who's probably going to be a centre mid, but becoming a fullback. As you said, if you could find the Tomiyasu kind of player from wherever, then it's kind of cool. That's why I asked you, because I'm a bit confused as to what we're doing there in that regards. And I think Kivior's going to push the move. Do you think we'll sign anyone in Jan? Because indirectly, you know, and I agree with you, you know, we'd like a striker, we'd like a winger. We need to do something with the goalies. Centre midfield is up for debate. And we've touched on defence. Do you think we'll do anything in January?
The reason I don't think we'll do anything in January is because we can't loan anyone. Because we've already got the limit of loans. We've already got Neto and Sterling, so we can't loan anyone. And the only way I see someone coming in is if somebody gets injured. So let's just say we lose Odegaard again or we lose Saka. I think they'll bring somebody in. Until that, I just don't see it happening. I think we've got more chance of people coming out as opposed to in. The only player we will sign is Marquinhos back in January. That's it. That is literally the only one that will come back in. I think maybe Tierney will go. So look, man, we've got to be realistic about it. I don't think I don't think the board are going to spend 85 million on Gyokeres. I don't think we're going to allow those sort of funds to be spent while we don't have a sporting director. I don't think they trust Jason Ato to that level. The only thing I will say is that if we was to get a player that we could maximise the window with, Arteta might try to put pressure on the board to allow something to happen. We can't loan Arda Güler. So people that thought we were going to get him on loan and then buy him, we can't because we've got Sterling and Neto on loan already. So we're going to have to spend the money big on these players. I think we have to, but I don't think we will. I think the striker that we want is Sesko. He's not going to go until the summer. The other striker people want is Isak. He's not going to go until the summer. The only player that would be available is either Gyokeres or Marmoush at Frankfurt. And I don't think we can get either of those, bro. I really don't. So no, I don't fancy anyone.
Would you go for Gyokeres in Jan? Like, I know he didn't have the best of auditions against Arsenal. I mean, it's a bit harsh on some fans. He's playing against Saliba and Gabriel. Not to diss Kivior, but the minute Kivior came on, he looked a bit better. Yeah. Would you go for him if you could? Or like, did that game change your thoughts on Gyokeres at all?
That game changed my thoughts by nothing at all. And I'll tell you why it changed my thoughts by nothing. Was because you touched on it when Kivior come on. The guy looked solid. He looked pacey. He looked powerful when he hit the post. He got eaten up by Gabriel and Saliba, no doubt. Yeah, but that's compliments on us. But then I've seen Haaland get eaten up. Would you take Haaland?
100% tomorrow, bro. Even this current Haaland.
So that's why I look at it. And I just feel with Gyokeres, right? People are so desperate to knock what he's doing all the time. And I don't get why that is. I have no idea why that is. Maybe it's because they think we're not going to sign him and they don't want to big him up for someone else to get, right? I actually, if you want me to put money on it, I think he'll go to Barcelona. I don't think he'll come to the Premier League. That's why I think he'll go to Barcelona.
It's United for me anyways. I don't think we get him. I don't think we like him that much. I'll be real.
I don't think he's a player that we're looking at. But when he's scoring goals for Coventry, everybody laughed. Then he went and did it in Portugal. It was the Portuguese league. He's done it in Sweden and everyone says, yeah, but look at it. It's easy. They've got Isak to play with. Then he starts doing it in the Champions League. And it's like, yeah, but he only scores penalties. Like, what does this guy actually have to do? He scored 58 goals in 50 games or whatever it is last season. And he's firing him in already. He's on fire. Let's just accept he's a good striker. We might not get him. I don't think we will get him. Would I get him? 100% DG. If we said now, we're only going to spend 65 million on but it's going to go on Gyokeres. Boom, go do it. And I just don't think he's the guy that we want.
I'm with you with that 100%. And I'm not watching Gyokeres week in, week out, but I think I've seen him score headers. I've seen him score like runs where he's dribbling. I've seen him score free kicks. I've seen him work the channels. Seen him play as a traditional striker as well as be like the modern day kind of forward. I mean, he's a unit as well. I do think there'll be a bit of a conversion rate. I don't think he'll bag as many as he's doing right now. But I've seen enough to say you can bring something to the table with the greatest of respect to Kai Havertz, which I don't even think it's a question about Kai. I just think we need an upgrade on you. I'm having that. I've had this question up here for a while, and I think he's asking this because I've answered this before. He said, Oliver said, Dan, from where we were when I think he means Arteta took over the team, would you say the title charge came earlier than the board anticipated? Maybe that explains the transfers of those said players.
Listen, man, nobody had us going in a title challenge. Nobody had us going in a title challenge. When we did that 22-23 season, it shocked everybody. It shocked the board. I actually think it shocked the players and the manager. I don't think they were ready to go for a title charge there. We had the top four side and found ourselves in the title race. So I think we've outgrown them, some of them, and I think it's a compliment to us. I think it's a compliment to Arteta. And also think when you get to a stage of actually believing in certain man to get you to a level, once they get you to that level, they might not be able to get you past it. And I think that's where we're at now. I don't think Reece Nelson was ever good enough to go for a title with us. Neither was Rob Holding. Neither was David
Definitely
Luiz,
not
Danny
Rob Holding.
Ceballos. Yeah. So I think once you do that, once they get your Champions League football, you've kind of job done. Now let's move on and get the players in that we need for the title. And I think some people are so sentimental. They don't like the fact that Smith Rowe might have had to go to get us that better player. That Martinelli might be the next one that potentially has to go to get us that Kvaratskhelia guy or Nico Williams that we need. People aren't interested in that. But actually, that's just the way it is. And we had that before years ago. We used to have that, man. So we got to bring it back again, man.
I think you're bang on the money, and difficult decisions have to be made. Like, I think logically speaking, where you look at Arsenal's starting 11, you're kidding yourself if you couldn't say, you know, a different profile of midfielder to either play in place or instead of Declan Rice. And you look at our front three, with the greatest of respect to Martinelli and Kai Havertz, unless you're going to find someone that's twice the player of Saka, Saka's cool. The other two could be upgraded upon. I want to stick on the midfield, yeah. What have you made of Rice? Because for me, I think people are doing a bit too much. I understand he's bought for 100 million. You want a bit more, but I might be wrong. I've seen you play for a number of years now for England in the Premier League, captain West Ham. You've always been a destroyer, a box-to-box midfielder, someone that wins the ball and gives it to others. I'm not expecting you to change, but where are you at with Rice, man? I think people are onto him for no reason.
I think people are onto him. I think people are also questioning him, and I'm probably the latter. I'm questioning his position. So when people say they're questioning Declan Rice, I disagree. I think they're questioning Mikel Arteta. This guy spent £105 million on him, and he at the moment is complaining about not having enough in his midfield still. So if you spent 105 million, you've got Partey balling out in the 6, and you're spent 105 million to play this guy in the 8, and it ain't working, because a lot of people say it ain't, and I don't think it's working.
It's not. He's a 6, man. Look at the Liverpool game in his natural position,
bro. It's so clear to see. It's so clear to see. So I don't believe there's an opportunity for us to look at too much sympathy for Arteta, because he has had a long time to sort a lot of these departments out. And if I'm being brutally honest to Mikel Arteta, I don't think he's completed any of the departments yet. We still don't have a number 9 that everybody is comfortable with.
Only our defense, if anything.
Yeah, and even that department we've just spoken about potentially needing more in the summer because players might be leaving. I think in the 6, he's got 3 players, and he says he wants another 6. Like, this is my frustration with Arteta, is how many more players do you need to see before you make your mind up on one? Because he started with Emi Martinez, and he's gone through about 9 goalkeepers to get to O'Brien.
Yeah, exactly.
He started with Kieran Tierney. He's gone through about 9 left backs to get to Calafiori. We still don't really know what he wants to do in the left 8 position. He's gone through 3 number 6s, plus he had others that were there. And I look now and I think you haven't really replaced Emi Martinez, but you kind of have now with Raya finally. You haven't really replaced Tierney, but Calafiori, we hope, is that guy. We haven't really replaced Granit Xhaka. We hope Marino is now that guy, but he might not be. We still don't know what we're doing on the left, and we've been trying to buy a left winger since Mudryk 2-3 years ago.
Yeah.
Still haven't got a number 9 that he's ever brought to the club. So there's 5 positions there that we're looking at thinking, is he happy with those positions? I mean, it looks like he's happy with Raya now. The goalkeeper side situation is done. The left-hand side, we still don't know, but hopefully Calafiori and Marino can start to give some consistent performances to allow our left-hand side to flourish a bit. But we all know we need a number 9. So, yeah, there's still a lot to do, I think. And Mikel Arteta, people think he's coming to the end of it all. I still think there's a hell of a lot to do with this squad.
I'm with you, man. And it's a weird one. It's like, on one hand, I think we've got some stability finally, but as we've been talking about, whether it's age, whether it's lacking profile, whether it's certain players being good but not necessarily good enough, whether it's moving past players, you can make a case of, I don't want to exaggerate, but another rebuild really. And I'm happy you mentioned midfield, because that's where we're on. It's like, I personally think we need that Cesc Fabregas, that Santi Cazorla kind of ilk. I think you're trying to draw blood from a stone, trying to make Declan Rice an 8. I think even if Rice improves dramatically better, that's just never been him. What have you made of Mikel Moreno? Because he's another one that, as you kind of touched on, he's gonna people were saying he's gonna replace Granit Xhaka, he's gonna do this, he's gonna do that. He signed. I felt like the tide turned on him. Now they're kind of back. What have you made of him?
I thought he come on against Chelsea and he gave the ball away 2-3 times. Other than that, he started really well. I thought, wow, he's really kind of looking good with Odegaard. Then we had the international break. And against Forest, I thought he was excellent. And not a lot of people did, actually. Not a lot of people I spoke to.
People are harsh, man. Very
I thought
harsh.
he played really well. I thought he was really good. And when he's come on against Lisbon, people were like, yep, I still don't like him. Now, look, if people want to call him bang average, you can say that's fine, because he has been pretty bang average at Arsenal so far. But the guy's come to a new league. The guy's come to a new club, new country. He's also had a broken or fractured shoulder, whatever it was.
Big lump in Gabriel falling on him. That'll mash up anyone, man.
You don't want that. Trust me, right? You don't want that. So I'm going to give him time. I haven't been impressed, DG. I'm not going to go, wow, this is scintillating.
I'm with you.
Granit Xhaka, who I think you need to look at that role. And, we're always looking at comparing him to Granit Xhaka now, which is a mad thing to say, considering he was there for 7 years and I, as one, wanted him gone and upgraded upon. I'm not sure we've got that upgrade yet. I will say this. I think he looks better in the team with Ødegaard in it. And if the midfield is going to be Rice, Merino and Ødegaard, let's take a look at that and see what that looks like. The problem you've got at the moment is Partey can't be dropped out that side because he's our best midfielder.
Playing out of his skin at the moment, bro.
Brother, I've said this a while. I actually think he's our best player when everyone's on song. I think Partey makes everything tick, and I think he's better than anyone. I think when you look at Saka and Ødegaard and Saliba, they're probably our most important players, but our best when everybody's on fire. He is beautiful to watch, man. Partey is so good, man. And he's so important in that transition. And he is a better number 6 than Rice. The problem is Rice is a 6. So you have to then make that decision. What are we doing here? We've spent 105 million. He's now got to have to play in the 8, and he'll drop to the 6 when Partey's out the side. And that's what I think we'll see. So when Rice is at the 6 and Marino's at the 8, I think we'll see the best of Marino in the 8 alongside Ødegaard with Rice. I really believe that.
Are you giving Partey a new deal? It's that cliche thing. Last year of his deal, playing out of his skin. I think he's probably been our best player collectively throughout the season, give or take, if you're not going to say Saka and people of that ilk. Are you giving him a new deal?
I'm going to offer him a deal on April Fool's Day. If he stays fit until then, cool. If he don't get to April, May, I'm going to get rid, because I personally can't have somebody who's getting as injury prone as this guy. And this so far, it's been so good. If he's going to prove his fitness, I think he deserves a new 1-year deal. If he's not going to prove his fitness and he starts to get injured again and comes crashing down, I honestly believe there's an opportunity for us to just say thanks so much, but we're going to have to let you go, get you off the wage bill and go and get somebody else. That's what I think.
I'm with you with that. In that, it's a difficult one, because if you could give Partey a 1-year deal, I'd be for that. But then in the back of my mind, it is that thing of, once you get that new deal, is it going to be back into the same old thing where you pick up these consistent injuries and the Partey of Partey's been? It feels like this season is almost a rare one in that you've been ever present. Like, I don't want to jinx him, but there's been a bit of an injury crisis at this club, and he's been one that's been fit long. By God's grace, that continues. I know it's harsh, but it just feels like you said, it feels like our most important midfielder at this moment in time is the one which probably has the least clarity over his future. Like, Rice is going to be here long term. Moreno's just signed. Respectfully to Jorginho, you probably will be on your last doors out of the club. Partey, I don't know. I think there's enough reasons to say yes and enough reasons to say no. And there's probably a scope for Partey, whether I like it or not. He's probably going to have to play right back, give or take, with these fullback injuries as well at some point during this Christmas period. I kind of want to ask you about the title race, man. How do you feel about it? Because obviously we beat Forest, we beat Sporting. We could go on a run. City are continuously losing. Liverpool look like they can't be got. Is there any hope?
There's always hope. I think we're out of it now. We have a discussion again in the new year, because we've got a run of games now where I believe that we can get a lot of points, bruv. I think our run of games is looking very comfortable as far as Arsenal are concerned for an easier side of fixtures. My problem is never the hard games, the big 6 games Arsenal always do well. My problem is the easier fixtures. And if Arsenal can prove
that's the banana skin
run, always banana skins against the Palace away, or at home to Bournemouth this season, or Fulham away last season. So look, I think we can win all of them games up until the 1st of January. It ends on New Year's Day, which is Brentford away. I think we can win that. I think we can beat Ipswich at home. I think we can beat Everton at home. I think we can beat United at home. I think we can beat Everton at home. And then we got Fulham away. And obviously, we've got West Ham away this weekend. Those 7 games, I'm expecting to win them all, DG. I'm expecting.
Have to, bro.
We have to. So when we get to those 7 games, let's say, and we look at New Year, go Happy New Year, Happy 2025, everyone. Where are Arsenal at? And we're 3-4 points behind Liverpool. Buzzing. If we're 9 points behind them still,
forget it.
There's a problem. So, yeah, I think the way we're playing at the moment, it gives me confidence that we can go on a run. We've got some tough games because, you know, none of those are easy games. And certainly we've never looked at going on a run believing that we're going to go and win and blitz every single team. But the way we're playing at the moment, we should have the confidence that we can win those games, man. And of course, we've got some Carabao Cup action in there as well. We want to win that against Palace at home. Want to make sure we get to the semi-finals. And also the 2 games against, is it Monaco and Zagreb at home that we want to be winning in the Champions League in the new year, towards the new year. So come on, man. We got to go on a run now. We got to.
How confident are you about the Champions League, man?
So I look at the Champions League new format. I actually think we've done really well, bro, because we've had very hard games against Sporting away, Atalanta away, and Inter Milan away. And people might look at that and say, yeah, but you're Arsenal, you should win that. Well, those teams are all in the top 8 that we've played.
Sporting lost their first game in however long, just against us. So
bro,
you're right.
Sporting lost in 18 months. Atalanta, we drew to them. They're sitting comfortably at the moment in both Serie A and their format of the league, Champions League. Inter Milan are sitting top of the tree, I think, with Liverpool. So I look at it right now and think, actually, we ain't doing so bad to be 7th. And with the teams that we got left to play, I expect us to beat Girona, Monaco, and Zagreb, if I'm honest with you. So I expect to go through in the last 8. I'll say this, and I said it yesterday to someone. I believe there's only a couple of teams that I would fear when we get them. If we draw them, I wouldn't look to go breeze in the park, but I'd fancy us to beat most teams. I wouldn't want to face Inter Milan because I think they're difficult. I wouldn't want to face. Yeah, for obvious reasons. I wouldn't want to face Real Madrid because Real Madrid are Real Madrid, although they're bad at the moment. And I wouldn't want to face City or Liverpool because you know what it's like with English teams in the Champions League. Anything can happen, right? I would throw Bayern Munich into the mix because although they were poor last season, they did beat us and they look better this year. So I probably would look at those. But other than that, I'm really struggling to look at any team that I'd go, oh my God, we got XYZ. I wouldn't struggle with PSG or anyone in France. I wouldn't look to be too bothered outside of Inter Milan in Italy. I wouldn't be too bothered outside of Bayern Munich in Germany. And I wouldn't really be worried about Portugal. So I'm kind of sitting right now thinking I'm kind of cool in the Champions League as long as we avoid those teams. I think there'll be some shocks though, mate, in this new format. I mean, I'm looking at the table right now. I mean, if it was to end right now, Aston Villa would draw Real Madrid in the playoff thing. That's how mad it is.
We'd be hoping they win that as well, to be fair. Come on, Emery, mate.
Exactly, bro. So I think it's going to be interesting, this new format. I think it's definitely got some twists and turns in it yet. But Arsenal win their 3 games, they'll go through in the top 8. That's what we want.
For me in the Champions, it's a bit weird because in the Prem, well, maybe not so much this season, but in the Prem, as mad as it sounds, I prefer playing away from home than at the Emirates. I think we're generally just a bit more professional away from home. In the Champions League, I reckon we can give anyone a game at the Emirates. It's the away games, and that's one reason I liked winning at Portugal. Well, winning in Portugal against Sporting even better. It's the away games. It's like even last year, Bayern, we gave them a game at the Emirates away from home. We looked a bit shell shocked. That's where it is for me. I think we're more likely to win the Prem than the Champs. I'd rather win the Champs. Me and you have discussed that before, but I just think, and you've said it before, I think we need to win silverware. I think even if we win the FA Cup or the League Cup, there's still conversations to have around Mikel Arteta. You could argue, being devil's advocate, these are the kind of things that people wanted Wenger out, but that's for another story. I've left this question up for a while, bro, so I want to answer it. Shout yourself, King. Question for you: is the fact that we play Ish without Odegaard a worry in that there's no one to replace him?
So I think there's been 2 things here. I didn't think we replaced Martin Odegaard's position in the summer. I stood by that. I felt that we needed to go and get a Dani Olmo or an Eze or somebody like that. But the thing I did say when we didn't get on was actually maybe it's because Ethan's ready. And I think Arteta's made a huge mistake not playing Ethan Nwaneri. And I think he knows that now. I think there's been, excuse the pun, a light bulb moment for Mikel Arteta where he's realised that perhaps Ethan Nwaneri could have actually played a lot more minutes. And now he's actually giving him deserving minutes. You know, he's giving him deserving minutes. I think that is one of the biggest mistakes I think he's seen. And I'm not saying that Trossard is an absolute waste man because he's a great player, but it wasn't working in the 10. I think he had 2 or 3 games where he looked okay there. One of them PSG, maybe there was another game he played well. But other than that, I think Trossard was really a kind of a left winger or a sub or maybe even a false 9 as opposed to a 10. And Nwaneri's coming on at the moment, and he's, for me, the best sub that we can bring on right now. He's even better than Trossard coming on. He's lifting the energy. He's driving us forward. He's scoring goals now. He's creating. He's a baller, and he's ready, DG. And people will say, oh, he's 17. Is he ready? He's looking it. I don't care about his age. I look at how he's playing. And right now, he is delivering. I don't care if he's 28 or 16. He looks fantastic. And I think Mikel Arteta has made a mistake there. So Oliver's right in terms of what happens when we get Odegaard that's gone. But actually, when you look at it, Trossard didn't work and Marino didn't work. Even Nwaneri was the guy that we should have been going for. And I think every time he's come on, he's delivered. Whether he's starting against Bolton and putting in a brace, whether he's putting them top bins against Preston, or if he's coming on to win us the game, let's be real, against Leicester, and then obviously to kill the game off against Forest. I've been really impressed, man. So I want to see more of him.
I think you're right, man. I personally think isolated to Ethan's development, like Arteta with Ethan, I think you've been all right. I think as the season's gone on and you're just looking at your squad, and like you said, age becomes irrelevant. We've had injuries. We need to get 3 points. And he's been there. I agree with you in that he should have blooded him. I personally believe his future is as a 10 or in the 8, the Odegaard kind of roles. But there's been no excuse when Saka's come off to not play him on the flanks or not play him instead of Martin Odegaard. Martinelli, apologies. I definitely think he's ready, man. I think you're bang on the money with that. I just think he's got that spark. He's got that drive. Naturally, of course, he's young. You need to obviously tailor your expectations. But I think the man is showing with his feet. You're not looking like a young player, if I'm honest with you. I would say I would like to see a bit more of Ethan. And I'd actually like to see a bit more of Raheem Sterling. I don't think Sterling's the guy. And I'm not happy with that signing. But to a degree, I can't get at you. You're not being given an opportunity to show anything. And I know Martinelli scored, and you know me, I'm a massive fan of him, but it's not like you're doing the Saka business on the left-hand side. So anything's up for debate. Oliver, you've been bang on the money with your questions, man. Dan, 2 questions in one. Who is our most important and most valuable player? And if you had to sell one, which would it be? Most important or most valuable? Oof.
Whoa, man.
So that's killer question. Yeah, still.
That is, man. That is good question, bro. Good question. Okay, who's our most important player? A lot of people might be shocked by this because I'm not going to pick Odegaard or Saka. I'm going to pick Saliba, and I'll tell you why. The reason I'm picking Saliba is I've seen evidence what happens when he's out the side.
What's that, most important or most valuable? What you said?
Most important, I think. Most important player is Saliba, because I believe that there's been evidence to suggest what happens when he goes out the side, and on top of that, we have cover for Saka and Odegaard. Whether it's adequate cover is another question. I don't even think we have cover for Saliba right now. I don't even think we have cover. Like, what happens if he goes out? Brother, we have to play Kiwior there at the moment, right? So that's what I would say to that. In terms of the most valued, I think it's Saka because he's star boy. I think he would get the most money out of us. So that's why I would say valued. And then you've got the horrible question of having to lose one of them. The reason I would probably say Saliba is because he is the guy that I believe will be Madrid bound in the next couple of years.
You've made peace with it as well, innit? That he'll go there one day, yeah.
I've accepted one day he's no longer going to be a gooner. I think Saka could be a gooner for life. So
I hope so, man.
Go with that. Yeah, I do. You don't get that anymore. You don't. The last couple were like Gerrard and Terry, wasn't it? You don't normally get one-man clubs anymore. So I think that we could see Saka at Arsenal forever. I think it's something about his mentality and his attitude and his love for the club.
Just got to win trophies, man.
Of course, to keep them all there, we've got to be winning stuff, right? But I think even if we win trophies, Saliba will go to Madrid. Whereas I don't know that Saka would. I think if we kept him happy by winning stuff, I think he'd stay there. So, yeah, most important, Saliba, most valued, Saka. If I had to sell one, it would be Saliba because I've made peace with him going Madrid one day anyway. So that's how I'd answer it. But that's a tough question, man.
It's a tough one, man, because you could argue, obviously, goals win games. And, you know, God forbid, if Saka was out for the rest of the season, again, God forbid, we're not scoring or assisting. We both know if Saka has an off day, our task of getting 3 points is a lot harder. So I could say Saka. I think Odegaard is the nucleus of our system. We lose, as you said at the beginning, you know, we lose a lot in the press. We lose a lot in the attacking sense. So you could say him. But as you said, you look at that title race and losing Saliba is a bit of an L. So our most important player, I'm going to say Martin Odegaard. Our most valuable player, probably going to be Saliba because I expect Saliba to be our first 80, 90, 100 million sale kind of guy. So it's a difficult question and one you can't really answer and in a good way because of our squad. There's a case to make of several players. Gary, you've asked this question a few times and you've been copying it in. I don't want to dish you. You said thoughts on Lemina of Wolves. His stats are insane this season. Joint first for interceptions with Gravenberch. Good passer. Scores, presses well, a proper unit. I like him. I think he's asking, would you have him at Arsenal? I think he's decent, but I'd aim a bit higher if I'm honest.
I've always liked Marouane Lemina. I liked him when he was at Southampton, if I'm honest. I thought he was a very good player then. Then he went to Wimbledon. I just thought he was a really consistent player, but I looked at him and thought, actually, you're a baller. Look, I would want higher than that. I think that Arsenal are in a very tricky situation now. I spoke to Jess about this last night. Everybody that I want is over 100 million. And I'm talking about the positions, not just the strikers here. If you want Isak, it's 100 million. If you want Kvaratskhelia, who I want on the left, he's going to be 100 million. If
Even
you
the
want
Kuduses and them players.
Kudus is like 85 million or something, release clause. Frankie de Jong would be that. Bruno Gomares would be that. If you look at the back and you want to try and replace Saliba one day, you're going to be paying over the odds for that. So everywhere that we want at the moment is £100 million. Whereas before, because we were trying to get from 8th to 5th to 4th to 2nd, we could go and get 25 million here, there, 12 million here or there, 30 million here or there. Now we ain't doing that. So we're going to be having to try and get one big player in the summer, and it's got to have to be like £100 million player. And once you do it once with Declan Rice, everybody else goes, right, well, it's 100 million then.
You showed your hand, yeah.
You show your hand, people are like 100 million. So let's be real. Evan Ferguson has not kicked a ball for how long at Brighton? And he's been quoted at £60 million. He can't get ahead of Danny Welbeck at the moment.
Are you having him?
The reason I'm not having him is because he can't get ahead of Pedro Welbeck. So there's a problem there for me.
You're not playing ahead of Havertz then?
So that is why I would not, and I wouldn't take Sesko either. That's why I wouldn't, because I think we've got Havertz who's just as good, if not better. And I think that you might say that the other two got more potential because they're younger. That's fine. But right now, I don't want potential. I want ready now. So now, if it ain't Gyokeres or Isak, the only other one I'm realistically taking is Marmoush, because he's the only one that's killing it at the moment. So for me, if it ain't going to be them three, might as well just keep Havertz.
My last question for you then, because it's on brand, yeah, and I always find myself fighting with this. Obviously, you know, it doesn't really matter if you buy a player for 30 million like Odegaard or 100 million like Rice. You can always find players and you can always scout and all of that jazz. But do you feel we're in that position, yeah, whether it is the Kuduses, who else has we been linked with? The Kuduses, the Isaks, the Gyokeres, the Zubamendis. Are we in that position now where it's a case of just spend the money on these players because obviously we can win stuff with them? Like, are we in that position now?
Thanks, bro. And that's why my pressure goes towards the ownership. Because as much as they've spent money before, I don't think they've actually spent enough money to show ambition to win. Because there's a difference between being money,
bro.
They've been happy with Champions League football since 2008 when they came here, right? They just want to play in that Champions League to get them the money. That's the fact. So a lot of people say, no, they don't. They want to win. Trust me. Look at what they've done over in America. They've won one thing.
America is irrelevant to what's going on over here, man.
Bro, exactly that as well. I don't care what they do in America. I care what they do with Arsenal. When they win something, it's great. Yeah, it's great. Fair play. But do you know what? Like, I want to just not win one and done. I want to go and be consistent and dominate. That's what we should be doing as an ownership, right?
We've never done that as a club, man.
Never have. We've never gone back to back with trophies. We've never gone back to, with Premier Leagues. We've never come and dominated a competition, whether it be in Europe or domestically. We've never looked at the FA Cup and thought, wow, 14, let's go and replicate that in the others. We've just left it. The FA Cup's our trophy. Well, why can't the others be our trophies as well, man? This is Arsenal, yeah? So that's the way I look at it with the ownership. Right now, if they're not interested in going and slapping down 100 million for Isak, I need new owners because that's the position we're at. And if that's going to get us across the line, I need an ownership that's going to do that. If it's going to be like, let's try and get Sterling on loan or let's try and see if Evan Ferguson's free on loan, like, rule me out of that shit, man. Like, I need more owners that are going to be showing ambition, mate. So that's where I'm at, DG, 100%. And I think just lastly, for me, elite means they're ready now. Evan Ferguson isn't ready now.
Work in progress. Like you said, he can't start ahead of Welbeck and all them players. So he's clearly a development player. And you are not fit because you're not playing and you're going to be joining mid-season. I like him, but are you going to help us right now? I like your profile, but are you going to deliver for us right now? I don't know. I don't think so.
I don't think so, bro. And I think Jesus and Sterling are the two that have disappointed the most so far because one of them will say it's harsh on Sterling, but clearly he's not doing anything in training to believe that Arteta believes he's ready.
Which is also true.
Which is true. And then Jesus coming on is just doing nothing at the moment. So maybe Ferguson and Sesko would be better than Jesus, but is he going to take us across the line? I'm not so sure, bro.
And even when you start looking at it like that, like just because they'll do better than a player that's failing, that's a dangerous slope to go on. And that's why I look at Arsenal as a twofold. I can't sit here and say the Cronkies haven't injected money because I do think where you look at Edu and Arteta, I don't feel they've spent money in the best ways, but we've had Arteta, we've had Emre, we've had different directors, and we still haven't won a trophy. So ultimately, everything has to come from abroad. And a bit like what you said, I genuinely believe the minute we get Champions League, we're kind of coasting. I think if we finish in the top 3 positions, if we don't get embarrassed in the cups, whether we win it or not, it's kind of cool. And I don't doubt Mikel Arteta's ambition to want to win trophies. I really just question the way you're going about it and the fact that you're respectfully a rookie manager. So we're going to have to see. For what it's worth, we would love all of these signings listed. I wouldn't mind dibbling as well. Dan, I know you got to go quickly before we go on Troops' channel. So yeah, appreciate you being here. Let people know they can find you if you get out of here, my boy.
Come on, bro. Absolute pleasure, man. Make sure you hit the
Come
like,
on.
make sure you sub. And listen, I'm streaming quite a bit today, man. I've already streamed
Oh,
a
you're
little.
always streaming, man. The work rate's crazy.
Yeah, it's mad today. It's a busy one today, man. I tell you. So football's 12, man. You'll see me just putting down pots in YouTube otherwise. And come follow me. I've got some content, got a shot at 4, and I'm over with Troops now, and of course yourself. So yeah, we look forward to that. Big up, people.
Come on, man. And again, if you're too lazy to type that in, you can see his YouTube channel in the title of the video. So yeah, give the man a subscribe, hit the like button and all of that. And you see us on Troops' channel in a bit, man. Dan, catch you in a bit. People, catch you in a bit. Peace.
Always like,